creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Let's talk about it. So I've been seeing a lot of people on social media talking about, people need to be careful when they're visiting New Orleans during Mardi Gras. And yeah, you really do. Y'all just don't realize New Orleans, especially New Orleans, is like a spiritual playground, y'all. Y'all have to realize, like, just because y'all don't see this stuff on a regular, especially people that's not from that area, from the city and stuff like that, just because y'all don't see this stuff or hear about this stuff on a regular does not mean it is not true, y'all. I'm telling y'all, New Orleans is like a spiritual playground. And I get it. When you go to Mardi Gras, you're there to have a good time. You're there for the whole experience. You want to come back. You want to bring souvenirs. You want to try the new foods. You want to let any random person read your palms and record it and, for the whole aesthetic. But sometimes you just got to think before you go into these knick-knack shops and you buying all these different objects. Y'all don't know what these objects have connected to them, y'all. And I get it, sometimes y'all like, just live. Like, it's not that serious, but it is that serious when you go back home.
What is his name? I forgot.
And it's something attached to you or you don't know what's going on and why things are... It's some evil people in this world. And am I saying that all these people in New Orleans are evil? No. It's so many good people in New Orleans. And I'm not saying that all voodoo is bad. I'm not very...
Yup, voodoo is bad.
Very educated on voodoo, but I do know voodoo isn't the same. All voodoo is different. There's so many different type of voodoos. And that's just something that I don't want any type of connection with. But when y'all going down there and y'all going in all these different knick-knack shops, bringing home all these different objects that y'all don't know nothing about just because it's cute, these little dolls and antiques, and like I said, letting people read your palms and getting your energy, it's crazy. I've been seeing all type of people talk about how they've been seeing these like vampire-like things, and I've heard a few different stories about the vampires in New Orleans and stuff like that, and they're not what you think, like the vampires with fangs and all that. It's the complete opposite of what you see on TV. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, if you see it on TV or you hear some type of creature on TV, it is real. Most of the time, it's real. They didn't just come up with these ideas out of nowhere, but it's not exactly what you think. It's not like how it is on TV. But that's for another topic. If y'all want me to talk about like the vampires, real vampires, then I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, y'all gotta be careful. New Orleans is like one of the most haunted places in the world.
That's what I heard.
Home to Madame Laurie Laveau, the voodoo queen. Home to Madame Latterie. She is one of the most evil slave owners ever known to man. Like, this place has so much history, from all the different slaves coming there and bringing all their traditions and customs and religion to this one town. It's filled with so much history and pain and magic, y'all. And this stuff is real. Like I said, just because we don't learn about it that much here where we are does not mean it's not real. But if I was to go, best believe I'm gonna be prayed up the whole time, y'all.
Pray to Jesus.
I feel like it's a place that everybody needs to visit. And I get it's fascinating, and I get a lot of this stuff is very interesting. But be careful when you're going on these ghost tours and these different graveyards and bringing back all these different energies and stuff like that. Because just because you haven't seen it does not mean it's not real. Because I promise you that New Orleans is just a place that I don't want to mess with.
Mardi Gras is a ritual dedicated to Mars. Mardi Gras, or Mars Day. Mars deity, aka demons.
The UK is now facing an unprecedented outbreak according to health officials. And to make it even more concerning, those who have died and are currently most at risk from this outbreak are students. So here's what's going on. On Sunday, UK health officials announced that there was a serious outbreak of meningitis in the city of Canterbury, which they have now declared a national incident. Meningitis causes inflammation of the protective membranes that surround the brain and spinal cord, and its side effects includes things like sudden high fever, stiff neck, severe headache, nausea, vomiting, sensitivity to light, etc. Now, this recent outbreak in particular is being described by health officials as unprecedented due to its explosive nature, and the Times even described it as the worst meningitis outbreak in a generation. So far, 2 people have died who were only 18 and 21, and 13 more are in hospital, and the majority of other cases so far have all been linked back to what authorities believe was its place of origin, a nightclub in Canterbury called Chemistry. They describe this as a super spreader event because meningitis can be passed through kissing, sharing vapes, or drinks. Now, you're probably wondering why the hell this is happening, because meningitis has been in the UK for decades. Well, there's actually multiple strains. For example, Men C was vaccinated against in 1999, and cases dropped by about 96%. And interestingly, vaccinations for this strain were only introduced by the NHS for children who were born after 2015, meaning if you were older than 11 or 12, which is the majority of the UK population, you will likely not have this vaccination. And you know, with Men B having a concerning death rate of 1 in 10, the University of Kent have cancelled their exams, and huge long queues can be seen lining up for antibiotics. The UK's Deputy Chief Medical Officer said that it was the quickest growing outbreak he had ever seen in his entire career. And while contracting meningitis is very serious, the UK Secretary is saying that the risk of it spreading nationally is very low. But of course, as this situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
That is awful, folks. Anyone from UK, please drop a comment.
They got little Tucker. He's next. Shh. Something is up in Paris. What is going on here, guys? Shh. What are these hand signs about? Come on. Shh. It's over. All I know is I don't know. After party at Rick Owens' house in Paris, guys. And look at Usher. He's over there singing, bro. Shh. Don't say it. Little Tucker right there with the white. You see him? It's not a game. Oh, Michelle in the house. They got little Tucker. Shh, don't say it. Not only that, guys, they said that he was hospitalized in Paris. This is what people are saying. I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. Something happened to his wrist or something like that. I hope he's okay, and I hope he gets better. But what is that hand sign about? It sucks because little Tucker was a good kid. He was a good kid. And he changed the moment he started making music. Now we get to see the dark side of him. He looks upset here. He doesn't look happy anymore like he used to look in that previous picture I just showed you. Oh, you know what time is it, guys? You want to be rich? You want to be famous? Shh, shut up! There's a lot that comes with that. This is what people are saying. I wouldn't know. I'm not in that. Just think about it. They go from good to very good because this video is for entertainment purposes only, bro. And these are celebrities enjoying their time doing what they got to do as artists. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe you know something I don't know. Let me know. I'm out.
I don't know who that is. First time hearing him. Wow, this is sad. Demons pretend to be relatives all the time. Your son is in a better place, sir.
Did you see the video? Pull that shit up. Lindt is facing heat today after a closer look at their ingredients revealed the brand's famous melting center isn't actually chocolate. It's solidified vegetable fat. You gotta be kidding me. And the bleached fat is the start of something so much worse. Lindt truffle scrapes in at under 20 cocoa content, bulked with cheap fillers to legally pass as chocolate.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. This load is fused with petroleum-derived vanillin. Lindt's truffle was flagged as a Nova Group 4 industrial hazard. Oh my,
that's insane.
Boycott them. Stop buying it.
Excuse me, officer. Is your name Charlie?
Johnny?
No,
Charlie?
No, it's not Charlie.
No?
No.
What's his name?
John?
John?
Yeah.
John Kirk?
John Kirk.
No, not John Kirk.
You know, I believe we all have a look-alike.
It's all fake. I think everything has been falsified before the year 1600.
How so?
If you look on very, very old maps, you see that there used to be a country called Tartaria that was in existence. And at a certain point, all of history has been changed. About 1,000 years have been added to the timeline in order to justify land claims, largely have to do with the Eurasian horde and the elimination of the Eurasian horde. Rome and Greece and Egypt were actually active till around 1600. And that Rome actually fell around 1492.
As opposed to what's the conventional timeline?
About 1,000 years before. If you can wrap your head around it, the Salem witch trials took place around the same time as the Inquisition. Columbus was discovering America around the time Rome fell. All of this was designed to erase this entire civilization from history.
History is just a pack of lies agreed upon. You know who said that? Drop a comment. Oh my goodness, this is so awful. Oh man, poor lion. They're so messed up. Animal abuse.
Snowflakes, star forts, and cymatics. There's a principle at work here. Between the old world and the properties of this realm that we're not made to understand. And yet they tell us structures like these were made by horse and pushcart as real good defensive formations. Never mind the coincidence. These star forts, temples, and cathedrals were all built with a technology that we can't replicate today. This world was once a connected free energy grid. These star forts mere remnants of the far more advanced technologies and free energies of the past.
Mind-blowing.
Morbid Facts, Part 921. For decades, self-proclaimed psychic Sylvia Brown inserted herself into missing person cases, often delivering definitive claims to grieving families that were later proven false. In 1999, she told the grandmother of 6-year-old Opal Jo Jennings, who'd been abducted in Texas, that the girl was alive and being forced into slavery in Japan. In reality, Jennings had been murdered shortly after her disappearance, and her remains were found in Texas in 2003. In 2004, Sylvia appeared on the Montel Williams show and told the mother of missing Ohio teen Amanda Berry that her daughter was dead. The girl's mother died in 2006, thinking she'd meet up with her daughter in heaven, but Amanda was found alive in 2013 after being held captive in Cleveland for a decade. Despite repeated inaccuracies, Sylvia continued making TV appearances and charging for readings until her death in 2013. In March of 1911, after a fire tore through the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in New York City, rows of coffins were placed on display so grieving families could try to identify their loved ones. The blaze trapped workers on the upper floors of the Ash Building, where exit doors had been locked and fire escapes quickly collapsed. With no safe way out, many young immigrant women and girls took their own lives to avoid being buried alive as crowds watched from the street below. By the time the flames were extinguished, 146 people were dead. The disaster exposed brutal factory conditions and became one of the deadliest industrial workplace tragedies in American history.
Rest in
Pope
peace.
Leo has come out against looks maxing. The words of warning from Pope Leo are against plastic surgery, Botox, fillers. In a text approved by Pope Leo, a top Vatican commission warned the 1.4 billion Catholics against using cosmetic surgery, saying it can lead to the cult of the body, tending toward a frantic search for a perfect figure, always fit, young, and beautiful. The Catholic Church teaches that the human body is made in the image of God, and while the Church does not prohibit cosmetic surgery, it says that Catholics should not pursue procedures merely to suit their vanity. There have certainly been times in my life where I've been too worried about my imperfections. Like, oh, I don't like the way this looks. This would look more perfect if I did get plastic surgery or went and got a filler. But is that what I'm supposed to do? I think we need to encourage people to look more to the soul. Your body matters. Beauty is beautiful and good, but beauty is not just what you can see on the surface. Beauty is, of course, much more than skin deep.
Why can people grow old gracefully? It is a blessing, you know.
What can people grow old gracefully? It is a blessing, you know. 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 It is
And that country, UK, and I love that country. I love it. My mother was born there. I love it. My mother was born there. My father was born. Right, he knows all about my father. My father was born there, so you know.
No, he wasn't.
Places that you sort of automatically very feel warmly about. But the UK, what?
Trump's mother was born in Scotland, so correct, he wasn't lying about that one. But then he said that his father was also from there, but his father was born in New York City after his grandfather immigrated from Germany, which also makes Trump a migrant. But most importantly, Trump's father has got some very recognisable features. I can't help but seeing some similarities from this person to this person. Just a quick flick. Now, what I find crazy as well, this is his grandfather here, Frederick Trump, then his father, Frederick Christ Trump, then Donald Trump. But why Christ? Like, just another unrelated coincidence, Donald Trump's grandmother was also called Elizabeth Christ Trump. And
her last name is Christ.
Died on June the 6th, 1966, which is the 6th of the 6th, 66. Once again, one more unrelated coincidence to finish the video. Did you know that Trump's Tower in New York, where his granddad migrated to, has got 66 floors? It's 666 foot high, and it has an inverted pyramid at the bottom of 3 sides of 6 squares. 666. And I honestly have analysed this building quite a lot, and I truly believe that the architectural design or the structural design of this tower was to be in the shape of a spear, which in the Bible, Jesus Christ was stabbed on the cross by a Roman in the chest with a spear. So the spear is also a massive symbol for the Antichrist. Just for entertainment though, beautiful people, clearly, you know, Frederick Trump and Elizabeth Christ Trump, who immigrated from Germany, they have no resemblance to these two famous characters from Germany at all. I mean, listen, I don't have all the answers, but it just seems to me like this guy right here is one of the most worshipped people in the world right now, starting wars, stopping wars, closing down regimes, cutting off countries, literally just running around like he runs the show of the world. And it would make sense to me, if you look at the evidence that Satan runs this world, that this guy could possibly be the Antichrist. Like I said, don't listen to me, all just for entertainment. And I'm a Sphinx, still a dinosaur, baby.
I don't know, man. They look nothing alike.
Imagine being hired to a wedding, only to realize that the guests aren't human. This is a terrifying true story of a Kuwaiti band that performed for Jins. In 1993, Nora was a very famous Kuwaiti singer who had a band consisting of 6 girls. They would often perform at weddings and parties all across the region. But one day, Nora had received a really strange call. The lady on the phone said, "Hello, is this the famous Nora?" Yeah. "Oh my god, I'm a very huge fan." Thank you. My daughter's having a wedding and she's a very, very huge fan. I need you to come, I'll pay you double. And keep in mind, at the time, Nora was extremely famous. She would constantly get booked for events and weddings, and apart from that, it was her rest day. So Nora tells the lady, "Thank you so much, I appreciate it, but unfortunately we're pretty booked, and apart from that, it's actually our rest day today." And the lady, being extremely eager, tells Nora, Please, I beg you, if you don't come, my daughter's gonna want to cancel the whole wedding. I'll pay you double." So Nora ends up telling her, all right, let me talk to the band and I'll let you know. So Nora ends up telling the band, "Hey, I just got a last minute phone call. It's about a wedding that's last minute, and they said they would pay us double. What do you guys think?"
Let's
and
go.
the band tells Nora, "Hey Nora, it's up to you. If you want to do the party, we'll follow along." So Nora ends up accepting the offer, completely unaware that it would end up being the last performance of her whole career. When they first arrived, the band was amazed. The house was enormous, it was beautifully decorated, everything looked luxurious, clearly hosting a massive wedding celebration. The bride's mother, who was initially on the phone, ends up greeting them and ends up escorting them to a creepy room that looked pretty much abandoned, where they could set up their instruments, change into their outfits, and prepare for the performance. And shortly after, The bride herself arrived with several of her friends to greet the band and to go over the set list for the evening. But as the band spent more time around them, something began to feel extremely wrong. They started noticing that the skin of the bride and her friends looked unusually rough, and whenever they stayed close to them, the performers felt strangely short of breath, almost like the air around them was heavy. But still, they dismissed the feeling and continued to prepare for the wedding. And at first, everything went smoothly. People were singing to the songs, everybody was dancing. Overall, they were having a pretty good time. But the moment the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere completely changed. The noises coming out from the guests became strange.
That's when the party just started.
Almost animalistic. Their voices got louder than normal and increasingly aggressive. Then things started to become a whole lot worse. This is where it gets crazy. Some of the women that were dancing in the guest area began lifting their skirts as they danced, until one of them ended up revealing a little bit too much. And that's when the band saw that the guests had goat legs. One of the performers fainted immediately. They had to be escorted to a different room.
Wow.
And it was there that she and Nora realized the horrifying truth. They weren't performing for regular human beings. They were ultimately...
Wow. I rebuke any negative energy in Jesus' name.
If you slept for 8 hours straight in the medieval times, people would probably think there's something wrong with you. The way people used to sleep in the Middle Ages is way different than how we sleep today. For starters, sleeping straight through the night was not a normal thing to do. Instead, people practiced something called biphasic sleep, which basically just means instead of one long stretch, the night was split into 2 different sleeps. People would go to bed early, I'm talking right after sunset, and then sleep for about 4 hours. And then around midnight, everyone would just wake up. People would read or pray or talk to their families. It was such a normal thing that some people would even go visit their neighbors next door. I don't know what this picture is, but many people saw this time as their quiet, sacred period in the middle of the night, which was much needed after being busy all day and not having any time to relax. But that's not even the strangest part about medieval sleep. Beds were expensive, so sharing them was completely normal. But I'm not just talking about with your family, but with coworkers and friends. It was also completely normal for travelers to share beds with strangers at inns. It also was not unheard of for 2 kings to share a bed, as a public act of trust and political alliance between their kingdoms. I wonder if this is where king beds came from.
Nope, absolutely not. My bed is a sacred place. Strangers in my bed? I don't think so.
Here's an incredible look at a 2,000-year-old Roman aqueduct that still carries water today. Hidden beneath the ruins of Smyrna Agora in Izmir, Turkey, this ancient underground channel was built during the Roman Empire to supply the city of Smyrna with fresh water. Using carefully engineered stone tunnels and gravity alone, Roman engineers directed water from nearby hills through passageways beneath the city. Remarkably, parts of the system still function nearly 2 millennia later, with water continuing to flow through the same channels built by ancient Roman engineers. Ferdinand Postman Cheval was a French mailman who spent 33 years building an enormous stone palace using nothing but the rocks he collected on his daily route. With no architectural training and only a wheelbarrow and simple hand tools, he worked night after night to assemble columns, towers, archways, and sculptures into a dreamlike structure he called the ideal palace. For the longest time, people in his village thought he was eccentric, but the finished palace was so extraordinary that France eventually declared it a National Historic Monument.
That is awesome.
What if I told you that the Library of Alexandria still exists today and you can go there? There's a parallel timeline where it never burned down. And I used Focus Level 15 in the Gateway experience to travel.
Focus level what?
There. Okay, let me go back. One of my hypnosis clients found herself in a past life. And in that life, she was in the Library of Alexandria. She didn't know that this was the 3rd person that I had put under hypnosis that ended up in a past life at the Library of Alexandria. And she begins to tell me that it's still here in a parallel timeline. One of the other hypnosis clients into a past life where she learned how to use her voice and vibration to lift objects. Although hers was only a tiny rock that she was practicing with, the masters were able to move things that were large boulders. Got chills and thought, oh my God, this is how they built the pyramids. Okay, so fast forward, I'm doing the Monroe Institute Gateway experience. And they say that Focus Level 15 is outside of time and space. Well, I know where I'm going. Like, I trust myself. I know this is going to work. I've already been practicing levels 10 and 12. And I find myself standing in front of the library. It's a man in some saffron-dyed type of tunic, toga, holding a walking stick. Through him, I enter the building, and there's this long table filled with shells and trinkets from all around the world that travelers have brought here. At the end, there's some large statue or idol. There's columns and archways and papyrus and scrolls everywhere. I'm looking around like, is this real? And that's when an old man approaches me. I say, how will I know that this is real? He puts out his hand, and in his palm is something that looks like this.
Okay.
So when you're working in a new focus level in the Gateway experience, you can go to that level and then drop back down to the previous one so that you can differentiate the feeling between focus levels. And then we move back up to focus level 15. Now I'm experiencing myself through an old man. That's when I see these men bust through the door. They start tearing the place up. It starts getting engulfed in flames. People are trying to grab scrolls and run out. Everything's in pure chaos. And I hear the old man say inside of my mind, knowledge is never lost, only forgotten. And wow, how lucky are we that we get to learn this all over again. Okay, so the Monroe Institute is finally releasing the Gateway experience for home use. So you can learn how to do this at your own pace, and you get to keep the recordings forever. It's launching on March 10th, and if you want 20% off, comment Monroe below and I will send you the link. So shortly after this experience, I'm having lunch at the Monroe Institute, and I look, and they have the symbol in the dining room. You are not going to freaking believe what this symbol truly is. Okay, so I have to do a part 2.
Okay, lady.
I'm going to take you down one of the deepest rabbit holes you'll ever go down, starting with Albert Pike. First of all, Albert Pike was a 33rd degree Freemason, the highest rank. He wasn't just a general or a writer, he was a literal architect. An architect that built the moral software of their system. And when I say there, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Albert's script, which do keep in mind, this man was literally alive during the 1800s, okay? This is what he decided to write about. The What Plan for 3 World Wars, August 15th, 1871. First World War must be brought about in order to permit the what to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. Talking about 40 plus years before World War I. It says the divergences caused by the agents of the what between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. Look at how specific this is. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. War must be brought about so that what is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of what and where. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the what, once again, between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. And the war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. And everywhere, the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers or civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity. Those deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer brought finally out into the public view. Please tell me how the fuck that is a coincidence. I guess Albert Pike just had a wild sense of imagination, right? Just saying, how much do you believe in time travel? You look into a series of books written by somebody named Ingersoll Lockwood. 2 of them that are just way too accurate. And so many names mentioned in these books are way too familiar. I am doing a full video on that tomorrow, actually. I'm collecting a whole bunch of different articles and information so everybody can easily understand. I'm just saying, have an open mind.
The enemy is the same. Satan has just had time on his side. The end is near for him, and he knows it. Christ is king.
Come on now, this is just nuts. In 2024, God sent an incredible sign in the sky to a man named Justine in the Philippines. No, this wasn't the sign, but it was with lightning, and you're gonna be freaking blown away by this. There was a lightning storm in his area, and he was mesmerized by the lightning, and he said he wanted a sign from God, so he started to record the sky. And what God shows him, this is not AI. He took 5 separate images, and this is what it said. J-E-S-U-S. I would call that a coincidence if God didn't exist, but God exists. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they reveal knowledge.
Wow. Amen. That is amazing.
Do y'all see what's happening around these airports, y'all, worldwide? I mean,
Worldwide.
every single airport is experiencing some type of situation. Look at Dubai.
Doesn't happen here.
What's going on? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's happening? I heard that they were evacuating the Kansas City airport.
They're evacuating Kansas City Airport. We were at the gate. They just told us everybody has to leave.
What's going on? Even the people on the tarmac had to turn around. Bro, where are the planes? Do y'all notice something? Where the hell are the planes? Why don't I see the planes on the ground? This right here was in Florida and Fort Lauderdale Airport. Like, what is going on? What about that Nashville flight that had a bomb threat? Did y'all hear about that? The 737? Check this out, man. People had to put their heads down and their hands up so they can find the culprit. Here go the bomb squad coming through. A United flight had to do an emergency landing at the Los Angeles airport just the other day, y'all. Bro, there's something happening in the air. They told us about it. Remember, leave the world behind? Look at this. Everybody is running. Something is, bro. They're not telling us something. Remember the air traffic controllers? Bro, I don't care what y'all tell me, man. We're not in Kansas anymore. Y'all can feel the energy. This is exactly why this shit's happening in Kansas City. We are not in Kansas anymore. The whole energy has changed. I know y'all feel that, and I told y'all what's coming, man. Let me know down in the comments below, y'all. What's going up in the skies? The shift is here. Let's continue to get it. Peace.
Bro. Well, anyhow, nobody should be traveling right now. There is definitely something big going on.
You know when you go to the mall, well, most of the people there are actors. I cannot believe this is real, but it actually is. This has been trending a lot on the media right now with lots of different people coming forward about this job. And yeah, if you want to move to Hollywood and become an actor, you don't just have to go in the movies, you can go to a mall. Now, one of the key accounts was during Rick Caruso's campaign in Los Angeles. He wanted to show that he was making a difference and the economy was thriving. These places like malls have loads of people there. So he basically hired extras to go to the mall, pretend that they were shopping so it looked busy to the people that actually were. But this is just one account. This happens everywhere. Lots of the malls owned by big companies will often pay extras to basically walk around, pretend they are shopping, literally look like they are shopping, so that other people perceive it as being a much more busy, lively place. Most of the time, these extras are told not to communicate with other people, but still be friendly, and they will have strict instructions of which shops to go in, which routes to take throughout the mall, or what they will be doing on a certain day. Some people reportedly being paid as much as $200-300 per day for a few hours of walking around a mall. Sometimes they'll be given cash to go into a shop and actually buy a product as well to look like that store is busy. And apparently a lot of the stores in the world actually do this as well, where they will pay people to be in their shop to make it appear more busy. Now this is just insane. I don't know what to think of this. I still feel like this just can't be true. Although there's been so many accounts of it, it must be. Now if you know anybody who does do this or has done this, please get them to reach out to me. I would love to chat.
How can I get that job?
Thank you guys.
It's real. That is crazy.
Hello, gentlemen, and welcome to PsychOsec. Can I answer any questions? What is it all? Well, we're a company that produces 100% organic human sleeves. You're probably wondering what's a human sleeve. Well, if you gather around, I can let you know what we do here in full details. So here at PsychOsec, we've been able to achieve true immortality by taking your human consciousness and storing it on a device called a portable stack. It's implanted in the base of your neck, and it collects and stores everything that makes you you. Every memory, every emotion, every sensation, everything you've ever experienced is stored on this little device. You can see it here on the screen at the bottom of the lunch. You guys just follow me. All the information is stored on this device. It can be digitally transferred from one sleeve that you currently occupy into the sleeve of your choosing.
Is this a movie?
Leaves are basically human bodies we grow in our labs. They're organically real. Bones, tissue, organ, everything. These are the best bodies you'll ever have. Period. Nothing can hurt these bodies, but they are human. So if something were to happen to them, you can always change them out for a new one. That's why it says immortality becomes non-existent. Because you can be 50 in one body and change to the next body. You're as young as you feel. If you come this way, David's going to show you some 2018 models that you can choose from.
Well, okay, you can choose which sleeve you desire. Now, you can either have the sleeve that you have right now, or we have a selection of wonderful sleeves that we have made. Psychosec, fully genuine and organic produced. Now, if you'd like to be taller, shorter, skinnier, if you'd like to have better vision, maybe strength in your body, you have the choice to choose a man or a woman's sleeve. Now, if your sleeve becomes damaged or too old for your liking, simply remove from the cortical stack your DHF, your consciousness, to another, newer sleeve.
Sleeves, huh? Hey, but they always tell us before they do it. Oh man. Pretty sure that's what he ordered the barrels of acids for.
If you could, would you paint a picture for us of what it was like on the plantation in your early days?
It was a lovely, happy time living in open spaces with many lovely colored people and animals and
happy colored people,
flowers and fields. My father had everything thoroughbred, from the pigs, horses, the dogs, and the people had to be thoroughbred. And we would get into a buggy with him and drive to the plantation from what we call the pine land where we lived. And we would spend every Saturday, this was, and we would spend the day and we would have a heavenly time. And all April he was the dairyman. That's all he did was to skim the cream over these great big bowls of clabber and put them in the wooden churn and churn this marvelous fresh butter. That was April's job.
What?
He didn't do anything else but love us and skim the cream.
That's crazy.
They aren't even trying to hide how evil they are anymore.
It's just that, the call out of the 1%. The first part is introduction to a bourgeois family. You meet the mothers, fathers, daughters of the family. A lot of them wearing white gloves with red palms titled guilt gloves, symbolizing that there's blood on their hands. Some characters even choking on the accessories, symbolizing
They're so out in the open with it now.
Saying, I love power, and literally being blinded with money. Instead of handcuffs, their hands are tied with pearl necklaces. Their pursuit of beauty and youth being one thing that they can never attain. The second part represents the power of community. This is also a call out of the 1%. It also is a reference how the Métier Fécal team has been referred to since their last debut in Paris. They're constantly called a cult, which can be easily said about 1% also. The last part is the power of the future, where Hannah shows up in albino python cocoon skirt with the heelless skin boot morphing into her leg, showing that the 1% have access to tools of life that most of us don't. Michelle Ami walks the show as a representation of bracing the natural beauty of aging and no need to play pretend. This fashion show is a commentary on society.
So that was the Paris Fashion Week, and the name of that runway show was called The 1%. And we all know exactly who the 1% is. It's the global elite, it's a big business, it's a big tech, it's all the people that are stacking up the riches on this earth.
Look at that.
And they are telling you through this runway show exactly who they are. It's time to wake up, time is running out.
Oh.
There is one that saves, and that's Jesus Christ. Make sure to follow me for more. and God bless.
They believe hell is a big party. They actually want to go there.
That is not Ghislaine Maxwell. So there's been a recent video of Ghislaine Maxwell. So she is in prison, and apparently she repeatedly invoked the Fifth Amendment, which is none of your beeswax.
Yep.
In response to questions about her association with Jeffrey Epstein. I've never heard of him. Anyway, within hours, the screenshots from this have been circulated across social media. Have you got the pictures in front of you there, Brendan?
You've got a hand. Yes.
That is not Ghislaine Maxwell.
Her jaw does look a bit wider, I will say
Look
that.
at the nose is wider.
And the nose is wider.
The person
She
who's
looks-
now in prison, and you can't say it's because she's not getting access to all her Botox and fillers, whatever.
Sure.
Because she's got more eyelid now than she did
Prison
before.
food is very carb heavy, though.
Would it make your nose widen? Would it make your ears be different? Would it make you show more eyelid?
I've got to
Woman,
admit that it looks like two different people.
you're now one of us, Brendan.
It's probably not her, but every time, I gain weight, somehow my nose gets wider.
Andromedans tell you that the Alpha Draconans are here now. Where?
There are 1,833 of them that have been living underground between 100 and 200 miles beneath the surface. They've been here, some of them have been here a long, long time. They have lifespans that are thousands of years. They're carnivorous. They are not friendly to mankind, at least the ones that are here.
Are you saying carnivorous, they eat humans?
Yes. And they won't eat a dead human. It has to be alive at the time of the killing.
Oh, man.
Their preference is children.
Oh.
We've been told, you shouldn't talk about that. There are other people say, well, you better not talk about the reptilians. Well, bull. Why not? According to the Andromedans, they're responsible for 31,712 children disappearing in the last 25 years from the United States. These children were food. And I'm supposed to just shut up and not say anything about it because people don't want to hear it? That's tough. That's tough. Westchester County, in the last 5 years, 3,000 children in Westchester County, New York, have vanished without a trace. Where are they going? Why are we allowing this to happen? And why should people stay in denial about it?
Now, how are they able to do this? How are they able to? How are they able to? How are they able to do it? How are they able to come up out of this from underground and do it, or do they have?
There are tunneling
agents
systems
working?
everywhere. They're being helped by the Greys, and also there are groups within the higher echelon that are actually helping them acquire this.
So human beings are abducting the kids and getting them to the Greys, who in turn give them to the Alpha Draconans?
That's right.
Traitors.
That's part of the deal. They won't come up as long as we feed them down there. You understand? It's about human beings selling themselves out. The echelon attitude here, the needs of the few outweigh the needs of humanity. And sorry, that just isn't right. But it's going to have to be humanity that's going to rise up and make the stand. You're just going to have to turn off your televisions. They're going to have to get in their car. They're going to have to fire everybody in Washington, D.C. that knows and does nothing. And they're going to have to do something. This apathy's got to end. Otherwise, the way we live is going to end. Period. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I'm not coming from a fear space. I'm really quite angry about the apathy and the fact that, when people give lectures and try to tell this, people want to stand up and fight with them. Look at what's happening around us. The indications are everywhere. Everywhere. The truth is now an obscure thing. The lie is the norm. There's something wrong here. What's wrong with this picture?
They're a lot more hungry these days. Hey, but you know what? Let's flip the switch. Let's hunt them and eat them.
Real, bro. Look at it. This is actually we certified it. So there's two people or two subjects that are in your backyard? Correct, and they're very large.
Trump is letting the files be released now. Look.
On April 30th, 2023, Las Vegas police officers witnessed something extraordinary. Their body cam captured a bright, glowing green spear of light tearing across the night sky. And only 40 minutes later, 16-year-old Angel Kenmore had called 911 from his family's backyard.
Damn.
His voice shook as he told dispatchers.
Okay, what's going on over there? Okay, lady. Me, my dad, and my brother, we're working on a truck in our backyard, and we have a big lot outside, right? Correct?
Okay.
We were working, and we just see in a corner of our eye something fall down from the sky, and it was with light. And when I hit down, it was like a big.
That's
impact.
CGI, but this
like
voice call is real.
And then we hear like a lot of footsteps near us, and then we have a big equipment, and we see, and there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one beside it, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
When officers arrived, they took the call
Y'all hearing
seriously
this?
because of the strange light they seen in the sky. One of the officers said,
My partner said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious.
multiple
The
family
officer
members
said
have
that.
backed up.
And look what Trump said. Trump approves release of secret information about UFOs and aliens, bro. There's a lot of things going on. Even the Bible states is that there will be a lot of surprises in the end times, but we as Christians and believers gotta be calm, be faithful to God. The Bible literally states deep in the oceans there are creatures that we don't know about. So imagine.
The great deception. If you know, you know.
Okay, you might want to take a seat for a second because my mind is completely blown right now. Have you seen the guy Tyler Hansen, the fittest flat earther, on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram? And he's talking about how these major celebrities, there's pictures, identical looking pictures of some famous person from 100, 200 years ago, and identical face of Robin Williams and all these major celebrities, right? And he's saying that they're actually fallen angels and that they're not really the real kind of person you'd think they are, and that it's like a deception, right? And I'm thinking, well, that's pretty far out. Farther out things have occurred, but I'm still thinking I'm not really going to say that because it kind of seems how do we even prove that? Then I just found out this. It is said that when Lucifer fell from heaven because he got prideful, he brought 1/3 of the stars, the angels, down with him. They used to refer to angels as stars. So the fallen angels, he brought 1/3 of them down to earth. Where do we find the city of angels? Los Angeles. Where is Hollywood? Los Angeles, of course, Hollywood. So hold on a second. What do you do in Hollywood if you're a celebrity? You get worshipped and you get idolized, just as the angels wanted to be worshipped and idolized, the ones who fell with Lucifer. And then what do you have in the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Stars of famous celebrities which people worship and idolize. So the angels that fell with Lucifer had pride in their hearts, which is why they fell to live on earth. And it's just so interesting that we used to worship stars, we used to follow stars. They would navigate and guide us. We'd use the stars to navigate ourselves across the ocean and everything. And now people, instead of looking to the stars for guidance, they're looking at Hollywood stars, which guide them. Ooh. And they worship them.
Fake
I'm just
stars.
saying that's pretty shocking. And maybe Tyler Hansen, fittest flat earther, maybe onto something. Let me know your thoughts.
Not wrong, but he's not 100% right.
There was a doctor named Masaru Emoto who came up with a study. He essentially found that the way one group of people talk to themselves versus the way another group of people talk to themselves or talk to the world around them, one being negative and one being positive, created a massive V in their outcomes, because it's going to get above my pay grade here exactly how this happened. But down to the cellular level in their body, it changed how they physically reacted to the environment around them so they could perform at a higher level and potentially make those things happen. So when I see things like that, and then I combine that with a lot of different other neuro experts who talk about putting words into the universe and attitudes into the universe and how your brain is directly tied in your language to the heart, and what the heart wants or says you can get that the brain tries to shut down. I'm like, holy shit. It really is all there within us. It has to do with how we have to just rewire ourselves to be on the right path rather than the path that says, I can't.
Yep, I believe in positive thinking.
Also, I got very disturbed toward the end about something that happened to some of the government people. And I realized, holy crap.
Hitchhikers.
Well, yeah. That, and so hitchhiker being that you take things home with you. Everybody took things home with them. I took things to my house. Things happened to my wife and to me, and different things. So everybody took things home. We all, we did, but we didn't know that, gee, it was going to be kind of permanent. We didn't know that, that it's going to stay with you for maybe for years and years or the rest of your life, who knows. But the ones that bothered me a lot were where anybody got hurt or really disturbed. And not that it happened on the ranch. It was when they left the ranch, as you say, hitchhikers, and these were government people, and affected them.
Very dramatic ways, though.
Very dramatic ways. Very dramatic ways. And there's a cousin to that we're facing, but it's abated at least for now, and this other survival topic, right? Very dramatic kind of things that we wanted to have reduced or stopped. So, but going back to the government people, the buyer came along at the right time. I had decided I wanted to
take this off your plate.
Yeah, take it off my plate, tone it down, and if necessary, just lock it up and forget about it. And next thing I know, the buyer comes along, and the rest is history.
How the you know what it looks like before then? Universal. We all know Universal Music Group, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's their logo?
The Earth.
Okay, thank you. So, which they founded in 1913. The first picture of Earth didn't come until 33 years later at 1946. How the fuck do they know what it looks like before then? I walk niggas down! All the pictures that we have from NASA, which they said themselves, is CGI. They're composites. They're all pictures taken from other places around the globe, and they put them together.
The Bible, young blood. The Bible.
Back in the early 1900s, a very mysterious winged creature was terrorizing the small town of Van Meter, Iowa. Creature known as the Van Meter Visitor was first spotted in the fall of 1903. It was spotted by multiple people in the town, hopping from building to building, and it was characterized by being around 9 foot tall and also pterodactyl-like, with its most prominent feature being the overwhelming and blinding stench it was putting off as it was roaming around, which, I might know this guy. I know a few people like that. Another important characterization of this creature was a shiny horn on its head, producing a very bright light. Honestly, this thing seemed like more of a nuisance than anything, just scaring the shit out of people and, making the town smell horrible as it ran through it. No reports I can find that have this thing as necessarily malicious. It was spotted over the course of multiple nights. Some would describe it as pterodactyl-like, some would describe it as almost kangaroo-like with the way it was hopping, and others likened it to more of a devil. There's also multiple reports from the time that this thing was bulletproof, that it was shot at and it just didn't react. Legend has it that the townsfolk eventually got together and dealt with this problem by following it, and eventually it leading them to an abandoned coal mine, which it got in, and they eventually just worked on sealing it off, and it's still stuck in there to this day.
Here's one of the craziest ones. The day he was indicted, the very next day, he ordered 330 gallons of sulfuric acid.
What?
Yes. He ordered 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid to be delivered to the island. And so there's a lot of people online saying, oh, that was probably for his desalination plant. It's probably like a regular thing they need to order. That's a lot of sulfuric acid. 239 gallons or whatever it is to burn kids.
Oh, it's crazy.
So this is the conspiracy that drives me the most crazy, because I don't like it.
And the fact that no one has been arrested is insane.
This is absolute madness. Have you seen the Mermaid Banquet that is currently shocking the internet? A series of insane clips has recently surfaced showing a high society dinner hidden inside a massive private estate. At first glance, it looks like a costume party for the ultra-wealthy, decorated in 18th century gold and luxury. But as the camera pans across the table, the atmosphere turns heavy. Look closer, because those aren't just masks. The participants are wearing terrifying animal headpieces and gold-embroidered robes, as if they are part of a secret society. But it's not their outfits that are sparking a global panic. It's the meat on their plates. The footage captures them consuming a creature that defies every law of biology. It has the scales of a fish, but the undeniable structure of a human. Yes, this is the real mermaid. And now people believe that the mythical creatures we see in storybooks like mermaids actually exist in high-security underwater zones. But what do you think is really happening at these dinners? Tell me your theory in the comments.
Mermaids use magic. A curse will be upon them.
There is something massive getting ready to take place right this minute. Why are all the news channels telling us that we're about to have a strike inside of California? That they're going to send drones into California? We know this. What appears to be a nuke was just dropped in Iran today. I'm not even screwing with y'all about Iran, but in Iran today. Now we have the president saying that, oh, guess what, guys? We have won the war. Remember where I showed you guys where George Bush came out and said mission accomplished, before this two-decade war in the Middle East? They say, oh, it's all destroyed. 89% of everything is destroyed. Tell me why ships are going down right now by the hands of Iran. Tell me why Israel has been being bombarded with missiles from Hezbollah for hours in a row. Hundreds of missiles, hours in a row. I had already showed you guys where it seems like something's going to happen in America. They're all talking about there's going to be some kind of attack on the U.S. Now the news already knows what kind of attack to look out for. It's going to be an attack into California. How would they even be able to do that? Ask yourself that. Iran on the other side says this war is not over. Israel says that we can go as long as needed. Tell me how this is over when things have nothing but escalated to this point. Also, I told you guys there were more than just 7 or 8 people that had gotten hurt. Now they're saying 130. But of course, everyone said that I was wrong. Trust the government's numbers, right? I still don't think it's the accurate number in the first place. I mean, you guys even know how many people are literally active in this war just in the Middle East alone? Yeah, he says it's over, but I say, just watch. Next week, 2 weeks, whatever. Something is going to happen.
Let's pray for the world, folks.
If Enoch was left in the Bible and people were like, wait, what happened? Like, explain the nuttiness of the book of Enoch.
If you read it, it talks about the fall of angels, thus creating the precursor of civilization, the technology that was given to mankind by these angels. It talks about theories in astronomy, metalworkings, all of it, angels mixing with mankind, and then seeding a super, essentially, race of humans that essentially were responsible for basically damning mankind to the flood. You hear about stuff in Greek and Roman mythology, people who had these super crazy powers, and talk about it out loud and it sounds crazy, but that's what the book says. And then the fact that it was taken out, yet you have one of the oldest religions in the world, be it the Ethiopians, that actually still have it.
Enoch didn't write the book.
Hey, if anybody's ever been to the Hoover Dam, what is this guy?
Who is that, bro?
I know who.
What are these guys doing?
Why are they there?
What's their deal?
For real?
Why are there men sitting here with arms up with wings? Someone let me know.
Why? What the hell is going on at the Hoover Dam, guys? Why are those statues there? Why are those statues everywhere around the world? Why are those statues the same material? Why do those statues creep everybody out and they're in places that they shouldn't be? Some are in the middle of nowhere. Stop playing with me, son. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I'm telling you right now, I'm tired of this. Sir, people are saying that one day that those statues could possibly come alive. Or are they alive? Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game out here, guys. You know what it is. Sir, because there's no reason for those statues to be there. And it's always like angel statues with wings and things like that, right? Something's going on at the Hoover Dam, guys, that I know nothing about because I'm home. Stop playing with me, son. It's not a game out here, guys. You know what it is. Sir, but I'll tell you one thing. If I'm ever at one of these places and I stare at a statue and it moves, should have never did that.
We all know those are fallen angels. Can't fool me. Shh, shut up.
The whole Epstein thing is very demonic. Watch.
Epstein stuff, that seems like some type of satanic ritualistic type stuff that was going on there.
Yes, and actually the stuff I've read about as far as the stuff that was going on there and just the layout of the island gives an indication that it was heavily involved in the occult. It's the same thing that we've seen elsewhere where guys who suffer from homosexuality and they're active and they're very heavily active, it very often degenerates into ritualistic acts. It's the same kind of a thing there that it eventually degenerates. Satan ends up just driving them because they're so disordered that he gets involved and then he drives it more towards a ritualistic kind of an approach.
Wow.
I just found out that there's a Japanese samurai who could become a Catholic saint soon. Takeyama Ukan was a Japanese daimyo or duke from the 16th century. Initially, he fell away from the Catholic faith due to his vocation as a samurai. However, after a brutal fight, he found his way back. And when Japan's rulers outlawed Christianity, they ordered every Christian to either renounce their faith or die. He refused, so he lost his castle, his wealth, his title, everything. He was eventually outlawed to the Philippines, where he died in 1615, still faithful to Christ. Let this be a lesson to us. Even if people don't follow Christ in our own culture, it's our job to stay true to him in our own life. Save and follow for more Catholic stories like this.
Yep. He has a monument in the midst of Manila in the old district of Paco. The monument is called Plaza Dilaw, meaning yellow.
The real issue is the reptilians, the draconians, the Luciferians, the Anunnaki. All these guys have got together and they want to actually take over this planet. And it's not happening. You know,
It's not happening.
we're being allowed to fight back. And luckily we've got races who are helping us with new technologies like, plasma weapons, where they can actually destroy craft. Before we couldn't, the conventional firearm would not work on them. And so we've got a whole host of new technology coming, which we've been given.
Well, that's an interesting view. What do you think that is? The Nile? No, that's a Mississippi.
I don't know, man. It's just drawing. But let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
In fact, people are calling Ellen the most prolific cannibal in the world. They use the code word jerky as code for human flesh. In one email in the Epstein files, it says, quote, Steve needs a 6 to 8 ounce portion of jerky. I gave you all the jerky we had, roughly 2 pounds, and it lasted only half the amount of time it was meant to. I felt it was more important for you to have the jerky to eat during my time off. My plan is to make a batch before I leave for LSJ, Little St. James Island, and some that will then go to Steve and the rest to you at LSJ when I arrive, end quote.
That is crazy. That is crazy. We can eat humans and not get upset stomach.
So this man who go by the name of Richie just explained what happened at the Euphrates River in 2025 due to his military life when he threw this kid in the water for being disrespectful.
But as we're looking at this kid, he's holding on to something like right under the surface of the water.
Like what?
And as we are continuing to look, we see that he's holding on to a massive step.
One step was probably like 2 stories. And the step was like maybe, I don't know, maybe like 60 yards long. I'm like, what the?
Revelation 9:14 says, release the 4 angels at the Euphrates River that they may kill a third of mankind due to the rebellion of Jesus Christ.
Several lights under the water, and people are starting to freak out. Like, what the fuck is this? I'm not saying that because I'm stunned. I'm like, man, what is this shit? That's what I'm saying to myself. So one Marine is so freaked out, he starts to shoot at this shit. He's shooting at lights. These lights, there's probably like maybe 5 or 6 lights. They all come together as one and make some type of sound underneath this water, and it almost flips our fucking boat. But this thing turns into a craft, fucking shoots through the water into one of these caverns. And when we look at where it's going, we see something chained up, and this thing is fucking breathing.
Just like the word of God said.
You can see with all that going on, the greatest to fear is God himself. He has all power, judgment, keys, life, death, and eternity in his hands.
past life in a mirror.
Wait,
there's a ritual. You can go look into a mirror. You're supposed to draw like a certain symbol.
Okay.
And people said they've done this before. Like this is going viral in like Asia.
Really?
I don't know how real this is or if it's just like folklore, but you draw a certain symbol and you're supposed to bring it into a reflection. It could either be like a lake, it could be just a clear water, pond, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you can go to a mirror and you bring it to the mirror. I think you're supposed to say a few words.
Okay.
And then by the time you say the last phrase,
Yeah.
who you see in the mirror is supposed to be who you were in your past life.
Really?
Like you see the face of the person in your past life.
Damn.
I think China has that well.
Oh, yeah. And people were crying.
People are crying.
Yeah.
So that's very similar. It almost opens a portal because people say like reflections open portals. So if you put two mirrors together, it becomes an infinite loop and it opens the portals for spirits or whatever energies come through.
Was it before or after this he performed the satanic ritual? Because I saw another reel about it some time back.
Do they not show the tourists this?
Dory, who lives in Lebanon, he had been to the site 3 times before. When we went, it was his 4th time. He did not know of the existence of the Trilithon stones. They're around back. You got to walk probably a third of a mile to get there. They don't even bring the tours around to the Trilithon stones. He had no idea what I was talking about the night before at dinner. I'm trying to explain to him, like, the Trilithon stones, the 900-ton stones. And I had to show him a picture. He had never seen them before. I mean, it's part of the platform, but you have to go all the way around. And some people just don't feel like making the walk. And when we were there, we were totally alone for a half hour with these stones. There was hundreds of people at the site. Not a single one of them came around back.
The Roman Jupiter Temple. Who opened the door from the inside? And who is filming from the inside?
Bigfoot is terrorizing Northeast Ohio. That's what the internet's saying. Apparently, there's been 6 Bigfoot sightings in the last 4 days across Portage and Trumbull County. March 6th, someone reports a 9-foot-tall all-brown Sasquatch in Mantua. March 9th, an 8-foot-tall all-black Sasquatch in Garrettsville. There's a couple face-to-face encounters they don't go into detail about. According to the Bigfoot Society, it's still going down because last night at 4 a.m., someone in Newton Falls says a 10-foot-tall, shadowy Bigfoot came crashing through their backyard. Ohio, are you okay? If you're from there or you know anything about it, let me know in the comments.
Let him be, let him be.
And this is just proof that mind control is real.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers, and they have to deal with that in the short term. Short-term and temporary.
Temporary, short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain. Short-term.
You have to understand that media is mind control. And no, this is not no conspiracy theory reach. Studies in cognitive psychology have shown that if a person hears a statement repeatedly, they are more likely to believe it's true, regardless of the actual factual basis. Your brain uses repetition as a shortcut for credibility. And I know some people are going to say, oh, well, they're the news, so of course they have a script. And to them, I say,
and make America great again.
Make America great again. Make America great again. And we will make America great again.
The fact is, you could get people to buy into almost anything through repetition. And if you want to find out just how deep the rabbit hole goes, then check out this video on YouTube. Or you could check out this movie. Oh, and by the way, this video is for entertainment purposes only.
They own the media, folks.
People. Oh my God! Yeah. Hi!
So you know who I am. I need to see you at some point while I'm doing this.
Okay? You know, her eye, you can tell that she was shocked and terrified at the same time.
Strengthening.
Excuse me, President Reagan. President Reagan!
What is the... He did say, excuse me, President Reagan. So he has manners.
Vatican still hiding that could change the story of Jesus? And how do we know it's not just internet lore?
Interestingly enough, the archives of the Vatican do open up every once in a while.
Do they really?
I know at least two people who have been in the private library in the Vatican. There's a very important manuscript called Codex Vaticanus, named after the Vatican. And it's one of these, they call them the Great Codices. There are a few copies of what we would consider a Bible, Genesis to Revelation, all in one volume, from the time period when those would first have been started to being made. But in terms of like the real secrets buried in the basement of the Vatican, I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Why would they archive this stuff into some secret chamber? I mean, do you think that's what Christ would want? To hide all the evidence?
Sure.
And make it harder to achieve faith?
Everything in those types of categories are probably publicly available. Do I think that that's what Christ would want? I'm not necessarily here to say that, but I do think that there are excesses that have gone on within the Roman Catholic Church that needed correction and still do.
You know, every institution has an archive with sensible information. There's nothing special about this. Hey, but I like this guy.
They told me I was crazy when I told them the clouds might be man-made and used to block out the sun. So look, use this video when they try to call you crazy.
Hey, I don't know if y'all know this, but I actually work in a cloud factory.
No way.
We create clouds and make rain for the city of Chicago. The government doesn't want you to know this. We control the climate.
They call it geoengineering.
Did you know Russia's royal family thought they were posing for a photograph when they were actually about to be murdered? On July 17th, 1918, Tsar Nicholas II and his entire family were led into a basement in the middle of the night. The Bolsheviks told them they needed to take a picture for safety reasons. The family lined up against the wall at 2 in the morning, completely unaware of what was coming. Suddenly, 11 men burst through the door with guns. They opened fire on the royal family. But here's the terrifying part. The children didn't die right away. Their clothing was secretly lined with jewels that acted like armor, protecting them from the bullets. For 20 horrifying minutes, the executioners had to finish off 14-year-old Alexei and his 3 sisters with bayonets and rifle butts. The Bolsheviks then poured acid on the bodies, burned them, and threw them down a mine shaft. This brutal massacre ended 300 years of royal rule in Russia. The bodies weren't found until 1991.
So much cruelty in this world. This is crazy. Oh man. Oh. Inbreeding has consequences.
People just like the fallen angels. An Easter egg laid in the tree of life is just one of the things that we paid over $40 billion for in Astana, Kazakhstan. That place is actually called Magog in the Bible. But if you scroll around a little bit, you can see the columns of Freemasonry right there, Obed and Jasam or whatever they are. And then if you scroll right past them, you can see the presidential palace and then the triangle or the pyramid, which is the Palace of Peace and Reconciliation. And that's next on the trumpet. Over $40 billion builds you a nice pyramid with a boardroom for 200 people, just like the fallen angels right there. And then right across the river, as soon as you get out of the board meeting, you can go over to the presidential palace and enjoy a nice evening right there. .gov site right here for the USA shows that we spent $44.8 billion in Kazakhstan. When the top 3 nuclear powers are eliminated, Kazakhstan will be the new leader. Largest producer of uranium. When the Soviet Union collapsed, they ended up with all the warheads. These people are a founding member of the Board of Peace. What a great idea to be the founding member of that. We paid for all this too. And inside this egg, which is laid in the tree of life, there's a shape of the planet right here that's never been seen before. So it's sort of like half round, half flat, half whatever you call it. It has all the continents on it, inside the egg that was laid in the tree of life. The celebration about that egg in the tree of life is supposedly one of the oldest celebrations on the earth. That's at the end of March. So we paid billions of dollars for this great cosmic tree where this bird lays a golden egg, which is the sun, and then this dragon that lives beneath the tree, she tried to eat the egg. Right around Easter time, you just let that $44 billion sit there with you for a minute. Where do you think all the people are going to gather for their religious meetings? Not only did we build that pyramid right there in the background, but we built a copy of the bird that laid that egg in the tree of life. These people we've got billions of dollars invested into don't look for a lot of eggs because they think it's the sun. Everyone that thinks they got the shape of the earth figured out now is going, what? I go by Ezekiel 33:3, and that scripture says that when I see the sword fall upon the land, I blow the trumpet and warn the people so I can follow the trumpet for more. And in Jesus' name, have a blessed day.
This is crazy, scary, and mind-blowing at the same time.